Hello and welcome back to the Premier Injuries channel. We've got another one of our transfer insights. Today we're talking about Arsenal's big money signing of Gabriel Jesus. We always kind of talk through any injury concerns, but Ben, is there actually any over Gabriel Jesus?
No, pretty robust player in terms of availability. Always difficult when we're looking, at players from Manchester City in terms of their strength and depth of the squad, and Pep Guardiola's ability to be able to rotate. I think one thing that we can be for certain is to say that Mikel Arteta knows Gabriel Jesus inside out. He knows how he trains. He knows a lot about the player. So you have some, first-hand insight in that. He would have done his due diligence. But in terms of availability, we're talking about a player who, readily averages, 85, 88% of all Premier League games. But of course, in terms of Premier League starts, the demands on Gabriel Jesus, I dare say, will be greater at Arsenal than they were at Manchester City, where inherently he was starting around about 20, 21, 22 Premier League games a season. At Arsenal, I think he's going to be the main man down there, and the expectation is that Arsenal, the Gunners, are going to need him to play sort of 30 plus games. So it'll be interesting to see how he's able to handle that. And see how they can cope again with the demands of European football and domestic competition as well, and how Mikel Arteta manages his first team squad.
Yeah, on that question of Manchester City, lots of squad rotation, be less so at Arsenal, but I think as well they are trying to buy in a few players that can play a few roles. But will the early signing of him in this period, just as the pre-season is starting, mean that any potential over deconditioning, the fact that he doesn't play a lot of games for Manchester City, is that going to be rectified, and his fitness levels are actually going to be almost through the roof when he hits the ground running in August for the Gunners?
Yeah, I mean, look, long gone are the days where players would, in effect, play 9.5 months of football, and then they switch off for 4 to 6 weeks, and let themselves go, and they would live the dream for a while. There might be a week, a 7 to 10 day period where players, switch off, relax, refresh, recalibrate, but the focus then quickly switches to the upcoming campaign. So this is inherently a 365 days a year, job for them. So they maintain a basic level of condition. So it's not as if he's going to arrive at pre-season and he's going to be overweight. He's going to be, too out of sorts. He'll be pretty much ready to hit the ground running. And that's great because Mikel Arteta's had the Arsenal squad in nice and early. They're a team that hasn't played a lot of football this year when you compare them to the rest of, say, the big six, who've, a large number of those involved in European competition. I think for Arsenal, their last involvement in double game week fixtures came in January when they were playing in the AFL Cup. Other than that, and this was probably reflected in their decision maybe to offload a few players during that January window, Arsenal, for the most part, only had one game a week. And therefore, that issue with regards to overloading and fatigue and rest, that wasn't really an issue for them because, like I say, they had plenty of time on the training pitches and they didn't have anything else to worry about other than the Premier League.
And any worries that Arsenal fans may have about this almost trend in history before recent history of poor injuries and kind of bad records there, it's kind of be rectified. And so they should be positive that Jesus and whoever also is signed, they can be confident that they're going to be starters and kept very fit through the season, apart from maybe some sort of freak accident.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are absolutely no guarantees in football. It's a contact sport, and you always carry elements of luck, in and around the season. Doesn't matter who you are, who the player is. But like you say, we've had several seasons where Arsenal haven't favoured so well in terms of the overall injury table, as it were, a number of high-profile setbacks. But last season, credit where it's due in terms of non-contact soft tissue injuries, muscle tears, the ones which medical teams and coaches and strength and condition and players like to be judged on, because those are the ones that you can maybe try to mitigate. You try to loosen or lessen that risk. They actually come third overall in the Premier League, just pipped by West Ham and the aforementioned Manchester City.
And I guess to play devil's advocate here, Is that actually an impressive kind of last season? Because as you said there, they had no Europe, they didn't have a lot of games. Or do we have to kind of flip it on the other side and say it was impressive because they had one of the smallest squads in the Premier League and one of the youngest inexperienced squads as well?
Listen, when we're talking about injuries and the media are looking at headlines to grab and hang their hat on certain numbers, then I think you have to take every accolade that's possibly going. You can always look to for excuses. You can always look to minimize, success. But, why not go out and ultimately players are still training. It's still a contact sport. You've still got to go out there and do the job. It's still 90 minutes of high octane, high intensity football, whether you're playing once or twice a week. Even those involved in European competition, certainly during those early phases, there's heavy rotation there anyway. And, the nucleus of that, start 11 from the Premier League could be changed. So, credit to Mikel Arteta and his, backroom staff, his support team, and also the player themselves for keeping themselves fit. I mean, Bukayo Saka is a player that springs to mind, involved in all 38 games last season.
Well, that is a good insight. And as an Arsenal fan now, I can see that people will observe that I've got the Emirates there in the background as Ben is doing, AFC for life. It's quite encouraging to hear that, and hopefully it's a positive season for us. But for you and for anybody else who is involved with maybe betting or fantasy Premier League, please do hit that subscribe button so you have a good season as well, because we will keep you up to date with any injury concerns and all the most vital information for your season. But for now and for always, we wish you the best of luck and the best of health, and we will see you again very soon.